Hey guys, Mike's here, and I would like to show you a game that I played yesterday, August 4th, 2017, at the Las Vegas Chess Center. Um, and this is a video that I just want to share a fun, exciting game. It's primarily targeted towards players that are lower rated than me, so anybody below master level. But if you're a master or even better, then hopefully you can have fun with this too. And please don't judge too strictly. This is my first try to use this OBS recording software, and I want to thank John Daniel Bryant, my friend, international master, who recommended me this program, and I'm gonna link to his channel below in the video description. Okay, so let's get back to the game. This game was the round number one of the tournament called Tonopah 2017, and that is a qualifier for the Nevada State Championship. Tonopah is a tiny little city that located exactly halfway between Las Vegas and Reno, has about 2,000 people population, and the only interesting thing about Tonopah really is the fact that uh, it lies exactly halfway between Vegas and Reno, and every year we have a state championship there as well as the match where our guys from Vegas play against Reno. So my opponent is 1870 rated, looks like maybe in his 60s. I never seen him before at the club, so I didn't know anything about how he plays. So against d4 I do a few different things. I do Benoni, sometimes I do Queen's Gambit declined, uh, semi-Slav, but I also very often I play e6, and in Blitz I pretty much always play e6 because I enjoy the positions that arise in this variation, and I learned it from my favorite grandmaster Simon Williams as well as from Dan Boschkov's DVDs. So it's sort of like Dutch, but you get to put your bishop on b7. So I don't want to spend too much time around the opening. Just want to point out that my opponent played the London system setup, which seems to be popular these days. I kind of hate it. It leads to boring positions. If you're watching this, don't play London system. It's boring. Boo. But for some reason, it's been popular, and there's a lot of books and DVDs that came out in the past year. So naturally, people are gonna buy those DVDs, and they're gonna be playing the setup. Uh, Here, I was very tempted to go G5, and I almost did it. If had I played that move, I would have lost on the spot. Turns out White has a very nice tactics. First, he gotta attack my rook. If I go knight f6, then I lose opponent g5. So it seems like I gotta go bishop f6. But then he has a very nice tactics. Knight takes g5. If I take on g5, I lose my rook, so I'm gonna be down on exchange and a pawn. If I take on e5, then he has this intermezzo, the in-between move, the check. And doesn't matter where my king goes, he plays knight f7, and he's gonna pick up my bishop and my rook, and I'm just dead lost. So, and that kind of makes sense because moves like g5 violate opening principles. It's too early for active move like that. In the opening, we just want to develop our pieces. So I played knight f6. Okay, I said don't play London system, but in case you do, don't forget to make this move h3 as white. In case black comes out after that f4 bishop, the bishop can always hide on h2. Castle, and normally I would either play castle here, or knight e4 is a typical idea in this opening. This knight kind of gets in on e4, uh, and then I would have actually taken with the bishop probably. But I think white is slightly better. However, I was trying to take advantage of the fact that my opponent did not play h3, and I went knight h5. At the first glance, this move kind of violates opening principles because we move the same piece twice. But on the other hand, we are cramped for space as black, and when we cramp for space, we would like to make at least one trade of minor pieces. And ideally, we would like to trade our knight for his bishop and get advantage of two bishops. And my opponent could have just played knight e5, and here white should still be better because of more space and slightly better development. But black is fine. my opponent found a very tricky move, bishop g5. So instead of trading his bishop for my knight, he is trying to trade bishops. Well, I did not want to help him out with bishop takes g5 and then developing his pieces. I just canceled. I was like, you take if you want the straight. I'm gonna make you take. So he did take, and that helps me develop my queen. My knight did his job, so he just retreats. Bishop f3, and here the typical knight e4 move, to which white could react with c3 or c4. It looks like white is a little bit more active, but we play this d6 move, which forces white knight to go back, knight d7, and at this point, black is fine. We managed to complete our development. So here I think white should have played the move like rook e1, and there is a big inaccuracy, queen c2. And I really, at this point of the game, I started to take over the initiative. I found a really nice tactical idea, knight takes d2. So now white is a little bit in trouble. He has two choices he can take. One choice is to take on b7, but that is really bad for white because that's gonna lose him a pawn. After I take on f1, if he takes on a8, I play the intermediate move, knight takes e3, grabbing his pawn, attacking his queen, and after he takes my knight, I will take his bishop on a8, and I'm just up a pawn. So he doesn't want to do that. That means he has to take on d2, but then we trade bishops, and as black, we got a position where white got double pawns on the f file and the open g file, and that we can try to utilize that to try to get some kingside attack going. So I started with queen h4, and as Sergei Shipov, the Russian commentator, likes to call this idea, because in Russia they really love hockey, so he's saying it's like a throwing the puck into the zone and basically hoping that somebody will pick up that puck and score the goal. So we're just throwing the queen out there, hoping that eventually something will happen. And white is a little bit in trouble unless he finds the best and only move to not lose right away, and that is king h1, so, which is my opponent plays correctly. And I try to think, okay, how can I be aggressive here? If I just play rook f6, he'll play rook g1, rook h6, he plays rook g2, and he's fine. So I tried to be a little bit tricky. I played queen to h5, attacking the pawn on f3. And my idea is if he goes queen e2, I'm going to go e5 and then e4 and try to use the fact that his f-pawn is pinned. And then I'm also going to play rook f6, rook h6. So I'm trying to attack while keeping all my options flexible. My opponent again finds a very nice move, queen to d1. Now this e5, e4 push doesn't work because he can actually take on e4, and then his queen is defended by one of his rooks. So I play g5, and after g5, he goes rook g1, and here I made a mistake, rook f6. It's actually quite a bad blunder. So for those of you guys that just also want to do some kind of exercise, pause your videos here, and I'm gonna pause your videos, try to find why is this a mistake, what can white do to take advantage of this bad move by me, rook f6. So okay, so if you found the knight to f4 move, that's very good. And by the way, instead of rook f6, I should have played king f7, just get myself out of this pin on the g file, and then try to bring my rooks closer to his king. So rook f6, knight f4 was very strong, and that move is not that hard to find. The hardest thing to find is the second move. After I play queen h4, it seems like I'm attacking the f2 pawn, and it seems like at the first glance white must defend that f2 pawn. But no, because he got the beautiful queen to a4 move. And the reason it's so hard to see, because you got to see the whole board. As a defender, you probably just focused on that f2 pawn. How do I defend it? How do I guard it? But instead of just guarding that pawn, you completely abandon it, and you go for it knight on d7. And now after knight f8, white has rook takes g5 check. And the problem is that once I take on g5, rook g1, and then white gets my queen for two rooks, and he also gets a pawn. And then the activity of his pieces, his knight and the queen, are much more active than my rooks, which are badly coordinated. So that gives white quite a bit an advantage. If I, however, go queen h6, then again, same thing, queen a4, and if rook f7, again, same trick, rook g1. And okay, after like queen c6 here, white has an edge, definitely. Not like winning yet, but it's a very comfortable position for white. Easier to play. My opponent did not see that move, and he plays f4, and offering the queen trade. But of course, if I trade queens, then I'm going to lose my g pawn, or at least, yeah, it's just I have no attack anymore. So that's not good. I want to keep attacking him. I gotta keep my queens on the board, so I play g4. He plays f3, trying to undermine my g pawn. So what I think he was hoping for is some kind of line like this. So rook h6, rook g2, maybe rook g6, knight f2, knight f6, and he can win my pawn here, maybe, eventually. But the thing is, I don't even have to play rook h6. I can just go rook g6, and that unpins my pawn, and now I'm threatening to take. So take, knight f2, knight f6. And this is where this game starts to get really, really crazy. So rook g3 first, and I play king f7. I also have to mention that here, once we traded on g4, one of the additional ideas I have is to play this queen d5 check move, and I can try to dominate on the light squares. So that's why he played rook to g3. He's trying to run to g1 with his king after I check him. King to f7, and then here he should have played queen e2. Queen d3 was a mistake, and after he plays this move, I play rook to h6, threatening a checkmate on h2. Okay, so here he has two choices. One move is to play h3, which is what he did, and the other move is to play rook g2. So let's first look at what would happen if he played rook g2. After rook g2, if I go g3 immediately, he just goes knight e4. And here I must not get carried away with my attack. If I go queen f3 and I threaten rook takes h2, thinking I'm winning, knight g5 just wins my queen. Oops. So that's pretty bad for me. And if I trade knights here first, and I try to bring my rook, well, then my opponent can suddenly play queen b7 and counterattack. And here I think it's pretty crazy with chances for both sides, but it's probably drawish because I feel like it's going to end at some kind of perpetual check. So on rook g2, I must find this rook g8 move, first bring my rook into the game, and only then play g3, because in the line where he goes knight g5 check, I will be able to take on g5 with my rook, and he's not going to win my queen, and then I can take on h2. So for example, I mean, to explain the idea, I'm just going to skip a move. So let's say white does nothing somehow, then let's say here, knight e4, here, this check. In the past it was winning the queen, but now actually black is the one who's going to checkmate white. Okay, so that was his better try. Here black still has some advantage, has some pressure, and for practical player it's a lot tougher to defend passively rather than, let's say, attack, and most players hate defending as well. So it's not an easy position for white, but it's defendable position. h3, however, was not good. I found a nice move, queen h4, attacking his rook, and here he could have still escaped by playing e4. And I analyzed this line with an engine quite deeply, but let me show you what can potentially happen here. And by no means this is a strictly forced line. There's probably ways to deviate, but just to give you an idea. So let's say knight h5, rook takes g4, queen takes f2, black won a knight, but suddenly white gets this strong initiative. After rook f1, my queen is basically trapped, and the only remaining move not to lose my queen is queen takes b2, then rook g2. So now my poor queen is all the way on a3, so this is probably equivalent like my best player being ejected from the game, or in hockey, like 5-minute penalty for my queen. So f5, and now things are tough for me. Now I have to be on the defensive out of a sudden. If I go, let's say rook f8, check here, trade the rooks, and then he can actually win my knight back. Now suddenly I'm down a pawn, and something like this, okay, computer shows it's equal, but who knows? It's still a game. The other possibility for me is to go king to e7 rather than rook f8, and it's very similar. And let's say if I block with my knight, then e5, I lose my knight anyway, my queen's still out of the game. So this just shows how complicated chess is. Sometimes you have a position where you're pressing your opponent, and you think you may be winning, but it's tricky. It's not so easy. So my opponent plays rook to g1, which is a blunder. Knight h5, attacking his rook, and now he pretty much has to give up his knight. Rook takes g4, queen takes f2, and now things are not over yet. So amazingly, after f5, even though I'm completely winning, I have to be very precise. So queen f3 check, king h2, and here I could have immediately gone to this queen takes h3 move. He has to take, double check. I get his queen, I'm up a knight, and if take, but I was a little concerned that my knight is trapped somehow. I wasn't sure if I can get out of there. Rook d1, I have a funny move, rook h3 check, and if he takes a knight f2, I didn't see that. But still, let's say like rook to g2, my knight is going to be in his territory without obvious path of coming out of there, so I wasn't sure. So instead, I went for the line I calculated, which was knight f4. Now this is really fun. My knight is hanging, but I'm threatening all kind of mates on h3. So let's look at his options. If he plays rook g7 check, then I simply go king f6, and amazingly, my king is completely safe, and I'm just gonna win. So the only way for him to continue is to take on e6 with check, and this is a funny position. Pretty much everything but king takes e6 loses for black, or equal at best. For example, if I go king f6, don't forget that he can take my knight with check, and so suddenly I lose my queen, and game over. If I take with my knight, then he goes rook from g4 to g3, and this is very complicated. He has a pawn for a knight, but he also gets a pretty strong attack as well. My engine evaluates this as an equal position, which means basically that white got a compensation of about 2 pawns. Because think about it, if I'm up a knight for a pawn, it should be -2, but computer shows 0.0, so that's not good. So the only, not good for me. So the only way for me to play is king takes e6, queen c4 check. Again, there is multiple ways for me to go wrong here. If I go d5, for example, then I get checkmated immediately. And there are many other ways to get checkmated. If I go knight d5, then in this line, I lose my queen, it seems, but then there is rook takes h3, king g2, king f6. A funny king move, really funny king move, because he cannot take my queen as I take with my knight with check, but then queen takes d5, queen takes e2, king takes h3, and then it all ends in some kind of rook endgame, which white has very high chance to draw. Fortunately for me, there is this queen d5 move, which I calculated all the way when I played knight f4. And amazingly, this move wins, because if he takes my knight, he's going to lose his queen. If he moves his queen anywhere, I'm going to play rook takes h3 mate. So the only way for him to play is to trade on d5, but then my knight magically comes back, knight takes d5, and now I'm up a knight for a pawn. My opponent made one more move, rook g7, but after I played rook to f8, he resigned. So that's just a fun game that I played in the round 1 of this Tonopah tournament on a Friday night at the club, and I thought it was an exciting game, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And see you later on. Don't forget to check out John's channel. All right, bye.